Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. I've never seen this before. Okay. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter.
These are the machines which have been automated to dispense cash whenever you may require. Sounds simple? Perhaps because we find one on every street, around every corner. Around 50 years back, our forefathers first met these machines in New York City. In the year 1961, a device called Bankograph was installed in a city bank of New York, which accepted envelope deposits of coins, cash, and checks. Though it was the beginning of banking automation, but the idea of feeding hard-earned money to a strange machine obviously had very few takers. The customers preferred to stick to the manual teller services. However, it was followed by many similar mechanical devices, which also dispensed cash, but the real deal came in the form of electronic devices, which was made by Daniel Weitzel in 1969 and launched by the Chemical Bank for the New Yorkers. By this time, people got used to the automation idea, and they no longer found it strange to carry out monetary transactions with machine. In fact, they loved it, and so do we to this day. Known to Aussies and Canadians as bank machines, to Kiwis as Cashpoint, to British hole-in-the-walls, and to Europeans, Bankomats, these devices have evolved to be man's best buddy, and perhaps not a week passes without meeting them, right? But what if ATMs weren't around? Well, then maybe you would be a tad bit miserly, because that fifth Vero Moda top would still be lying on the display shelf and not in your wardrobe. Or
This is the Caribbean, and here is Barbados. Now let's check it out, shall we? Archaeologists tell us there was an ancient people living on Barbados around 1600 BC, the same time the Mycenaeans were getting started over in Greece. But they disappeared, and no one knows why. Some 2,000 years later, Arawak and Carib Amerindians lived here. Then, in the 1500s, either Portugal or Spain discovered the island, and either Portugal or Spain named it Barbados. Bearded ones. Maybe because the fig tree roots there look like beards. No one bothered settling on the island for a long time. Spain would stop by every now and then to gather some slaves, but that was it. Then in 1627, Britain claimed it for King James I. They started out growing tobacco and cotton, but the real money maker for Barbados was sugar. Sugar was a rarity in Europe at the time and very valuable, and those who supplied it would certainly have no pecuniary regrets. The subsequent wealth gained spurred a desire for increasing exports, so cultivation was extended and West African slaves were shipped over to toil on the plantations alongside the numerous indentured Irish workers. Being a slave is not much fun, and there was a number of revolts. The biggest occurred in 1816, led by a slave called Bussa, now considered a national hero. Slavery ended in 1834, but it would be 100 years before serious efforts were made to improve the lot of the poor, which most Barbadians were. The 1930s saw one Grantley Adams intervene politically to help the disadvantaged. Barbados became an independent country in 1966. Since then, Barbados has been doing very well. A stable, peaceful democracy with a very high human development index, giving the world great cricketers like Sir Garfield Sobers and famous musicians like Grandmaster Flash and Rihanna, and has been a popular tourist destination for decades.